Hezký den, střebí vliv vinařství od Johana V. Mám díky Honzovi Smigmátorovi neskutečnou čest sedět vedle legendy, světové legendy jazzu, Scotta Hamiltona. Hi Scott, nice to meet you.
Thank you.
Cheers.
Cheers.
I'm happy I have you here in my studio. Was thinking about what I will ask you. And actually the most important thing is how love appears in your playing. If you're in love, if you play better, if you're kind of sad, if you play better, you know how the feelings involve you on the stage?
You know, it's a funny process playing music, playing improvised music, or even not playing improvised music. But when you play jazz, you need to come up with notes. And I find times in my life when I was very depressed, the notes, they don't come by themselves. You have to think them up. So it's very hard work.
So the trauma doesn't help.
So being happy is better.
Being happy is better. Yeah. Because always when I went to some jazz club, I had the feeling I'm in between of a story.
Yeah.
So you're a storyteller, actually.
At its best. Well, not everyone is. There's some great jazz musicians that are not storytellers. I think I am. Yeah.
Is there something, because your career is huge and long, is there something you never played or you never came on, you still dream about?
Oh, you know, I've had an opportunity to do so many things. I went to New York 50 years ago from my hometown.
You were 20 when you started.
20, yeah, I'm 22 when I went to New York, and I was playing in nightclubs and all kinds of dances and things when I was 14. So
wow,
I've
great
been
training.
Doing this for a long time. Yeah, but I suppose there's always something that there's always something left. Every year something comes along that I didn't think of before that turns out to be really interesting, and I meet musicians that are exciting and very interesting to play with. But I couldn't, even when I was 20, I couldn't tell you what sort of dream I had. I've never thought about it that way.
So it came like a flow. It founded your work founded you. Or because you wanted to be a drummer?
I did start as a drummer when I was very little. And
It's a switch to sax.
I played the drums when I was 5 or 6 years old. I had a piano. My parents bought me a piano, and I learned to play by my kind of self-taught.
Wow.
And I played the clarinet. A couple of years later, when I was 8, I took some clarinet lessons, and I played the clarinet. I played the harmonica when I was 14. When I was working first, I was in blues bands. And I was
Actually, is harmonica similar to saxophone?
Not at all, but the sound can be.
Yeah, for me it is. There's something.
There's a certain similarity of sound. In fact, what we were doing when I played that blues harmonica was an imitation of a sax. You put a microphone on the harmonica, and you hold it in your hands like this, and it makes a sound kind of like a saxophone. You know.
Who brought you to music? Your parents or?
My dad was a painter, and my parents were artists, and my dad was a very good painter.
And your mom? My
mom was, she used to do weaving and dyed fabrics and hanging things, very kind of, she did a lot of different things. But my dad was in addition to being a painter, he was very much in love with jazz. He loved it since he first heard it in the 30s. And so we had a lot of records in the house when I was little. And I think I was just musical, so I took to the music that was in the house, you know.
Ever happened in your life that you wanted to switch the job, that you wanted, I don't know,
to do something else?
Yeah, right.
I wanted to be a musician, a jazz musician originally, since I was too young, since before I could read.
Wow.
And I learned to read when I was 5, so
Okay.
it was I have never thought about doing anything else, and I've never even, I have no idea what I would do if I had to do something else.
What makes a huge difference between you as a star jazzman and between I don't want to call anyone ordinary, but, you know, between a normal jazz player?
Oh, I don't know. You know,
we're
all different, and actually the value that we each have as musicians is in our voice being our own voice. When we play, it's as much our voice as when I'm speaking to you. So I think I've always kind of been more interested in playing music that people can understand. I play for myself, but as much as anything else, I play for myself. But to me, it's not really working if the audience doesn't know what I'm doing. If it's not something that they can get their head around, you know. And after all, that completes the process. Playing without an audience is not really complete. You know what I mean?
Who was your best partner in bands? And, you know,
well, I've had a lot of good partners, actually.
Does there be a kind of, you know, even, I wouldn't call it sexual feeling, but if you find someone who is really close with you on the stage, what kind of feeling it is?
It's a very exciting thing to have a musician that you have this kind of connection with. And although there are connections between music and sex, certainly I've luckily never had a sexual feeling from those guys. Even from a lot of the women musicians I play with, I deliberately shy away from having
So you never had an affair in the band?
No, whoa. I think it's not a good idea, really. And I love some of the women that I work with. I really do. But I don't think that would be smart. But, you know, you get very, very close when you're making music together. And sometimes you find that it's a very nice feeling, you know.
Are your wives jealous on the ones you play with?
No, I don't think so. They know me too well. And my wife for the last 25 years, Elizabeth, is just, she wouldn't be jealous of me at all. She knows me very well, and I think she always gets along. If I'm playing with a woman that she knows I really like, she usually likes them too. You know?
Do you play for her, like home? You know.
Never at home.
Wow. Why?
I don't play at home. I just don't. I'm off.
So how she fell in love with you?
Elizabeth may be one of the few people that I've ever got to know that didn't really meet me because I was a musician, although she knew what I did. Yeah, it's funny.
You told me that music is actually in your DNA, and as your dad loved jazz,
he did,
and your son is...
Both of my sons are musicians now, and my ex-wife is a musician as well, very good music, very good classical pianist. And both of my sons are in rock or pop bands. You should call them, I guess, rock bands, really, in Japan. And my older son, very successful, and my younger son is just very good. The bands have not hit big yet, but I'm really proud of both of them. So
you believe talent could be in DNA?
It's possible. But it also could just be that they grew up in a house where both parents were musicians, and in fact, neither of them showed any interest in music until they were 15, 16 years old. And then they both decided to go that way. You know,
Scott, what kind of coincidence that you are sitting here in Třebíčce. It's kind of unbelievable. And because you met Jan Smigmater, how it happened? Where?
Jan called me on the phone about 5 years ago? Something? 6 years ago. And
milí diváci, Jan je tady jako nápověda a hlídá nás, abych náhodou Scotta neunesla.
Jan was making a record in Prague of Gershwin music, and he had met the musicians that play with Tony Bennett, and he was going to they were going to do some things with another friend of mine who's the wife of Tony's bass player, Donna Byrne. And I think Donna said, why don't you call Scott, right? She recommended me for it. So we met back then, and since then COVID came and everybody was on vacation for a long time. But Jan and his family came to visit the town that I live in for one day, and then this Carnegie Hall thing came up, so we were already kind of hooked up, you know. And I'm glad it worked out. It's very nice.
And you ended up in Carnegie Hall.
We did Carnegie Hall. Wow. Isn't that exciting?
Wonderful.
Yeah.
And how many times you played there?
I've played Carnegie Hall 3 times, I believe, if you count, maybe 4. I can't remember. Yeah, 4 times maybe. I played once with a band called the Concord All-Stars, which was a group that I played with in the early 80s. Part of what they used to call the Newport Jazz Festival. And I played there with Rosemary Clooney when she had it was a very big kind of gala night for her. I don't know, it was celebrating something, but it was very big. Linda Ronstadt was there, and a lot of famous people, and a big orchestra. It was fun.
As I heard, you were pretty close with Rosemary Clooney.
Yeah, I worked with Rose semi-regularly for 20-some years, and I made maybe 20 albums with her. I was on 20 of her albums, in other words. And I knew her quite well, yeah.
What was there so special about her?
She was a great singer. I don't think there are a whole lot of singers of that era that are in that class. I would say, you know, Frank Sinatra and Tony Bennett, Nat King Cole. For I'm not naming jazz singers because people seem to put that in a separate category, but Rosemary wasn't a jazz singer like Ella Fitzgerald or Sarah Vaughan, but there's a lot of crossover. Sarah and Ella sang songs the way Rosemary did, and Rosemary sang jazzier stuff the way they did. So, but she was certainly among the greatest of the 20th century singers of American songs, I guess you'd say. I don't know. They don't have to be American songs, do they?
So you don't actually believe in this kind of baskets to call one singer that way and the other one
I think it's more complicated than that. You know, they do that because it's marketing, and it's a lot easier if you can put somebody in a marketable category. But there's really no way to avoid them, is there? You're going to get put in categories no matter what. It makes it easier for the public, and it makes it easier for the record companies and the people. But it's not so important in the end, because it's not really what you're all about, is it? Rosemary was not thinking of herself as this kind of singer or that kind of singer. I think she was just really trying to do something good.
Music.
Yeah.
Scott, tell me, when you were talking about people who are giving you in different categories, or let's say people who give you some back reviews or writing about you, some critics or whatever, who was the one who influenced you the most? Like, have you ever read about yourself and your work, something what was out of the box, actually, what you were really surprised about, even good or bad, and how it influenced you? You took it to yourself, or you're more like a one-man person who
I think it's very bad to read a lot about yourself, because it doesn't, if you get a very good review, even if the person understands you and hears something really good, you're liable to become way too self-conscious from it. It's not a good thing to read a good review of yourself.
And a bad one.
And a bad review, well, they seldom give you constructive criticism. They usually don't like you because you're not doing what they would like you to be doing.
Right.
And if they would come and say, you know, I like you, but that was a very bad performance. You weren't very good last night. I would say, you know, I think you're right. I wasn't very good last night, and that would make me maybe try to be better. But they never do that. They always say, I wish that you'd done this. And you know what? You'd be a lot better if you did this. And I think, yeah, but that's not what I do.
So it's never
so
a
you're not criticizing me for the quality of my work. You're criticizing me because I'm not doing something that you like, you know.
Right.
And that's really silly.
Well, but it mostly happens.
Yeah. And nowadays we live, this is another thing that's happened. When I first came out in the jazz world, there were a lot of critics that had been doing it for a long time, and they were quite knowledgeable about jazz artists and jazz music. So I must say I wasn't crazy about all of them. I didn't love them all, but now that they're all gone, I kind of miss them, because at least they knew who everybody was. Nowadays we live in a different era. This is the era of the TripAdvisor review, and basically you're being reviewed by people who don't know anything. They're great in the audience. I love people who don't know anything in the audience, but I don't want them reviewing me, because they don't know what they're talking about. You know?
It's the mass market voice.
Yeah, it is.
Tell me, when we were talking about the critics, who was the biggest teacher of you?
Teacher?
Yeah.
Musician?
Yeah, of course. Well, you could tell me even from
It wouldn't be
your
a critic.
human kind of view, if it was your, I don't know, grandmother, father, first lover.
Oh, I
or
see.
whatever.
My father, for one, who taught me a lot about art, most of which I didn't understand when he told me about it, but he's been gone now for 20 years, and I'm often finding that things that he taught me, I begin to understand them now. You know, so it wasn't a waste of time. It just took a long time.
It's strange how we miss people who were important in our lives, even years and years after they're gone.
I never appreciate anybody until after they're gone.
Come on!
It's a terrible, fault of mine.
No.
And
so do better. Do better.
I try, but you know, I find often that with age, I'm understanding a lot of things. There were other people in my life who were very good at teaching me things when I was young. There was a trumpet player named Ruby Braff who I learned a tremendous amount from. There was another great trumpeter named Roy Eldridge. There was a great tenor sax player named Flip Phillips, who I learned a lot from. All of these guys spent a lot of time trying to teach me what they knew. You know?
Nice.
And there were a lot of other musicians who never tried to teach me anything, but I learned a lot from being around them. You know.
You know, I think from some age it's so important to give anything you know out.
Well, I understand the feeling now, you know, because I'm 68 and I'm beginning to think, well, maybe I can't teach, I'm not a good teacher, but maybe I could, if somebody's interested, maybe I could give away a little bit.
Right,
you know?
like the Hindu people.
Yeah.
After 55, they just decide to give away.
Well, there's a lot of, the wisdom of the East it's a fact, isn't it?
Right. So we started with Jan Smigmato, so we will end with him. And my last question actually is, what you like to teach him? Is there something?
Oh, Jan?
Yes.
Oh, I wouldn't dare. I wouldn't dare
Come on,
teach
there
him.
must be a nice reason why you two met.
Well,
there's always
no.
a reason why two people meet.
You know, anytime I work with a singer, I'm doing my best, because it's a different job than what I do when I'm not with a singer. When I'm by myself, as you mentioned, I'm trying to tell a story. When I'm with a singer, the singer's telling a story, and I'm an accompanist. And this is a job which requires a little bit different kind of a thing. What I'm trying to do is to complement what he's doing with everything that I know about that part of music, you know.
Right.
So but it's something that I enjoy doing a lot, and we're gonna try to do it again tonight. So
I'm very happy you two met. I'm looking forward.
Yeah,
cheers.
I'm looking forward to it. It'll be fun.
Yeah, right. Thanks
Cheers.
for the interview.
Thank you.